I just don't like the fact that when we look at what happened last year, I just don't like the fact that Larson, again, I just keep saying this. If you look at his last 8 starts, 2 wins and a runner-up, and in his other 5, 20, 30, 32, 33, 35. I can't bet on a guy like that at 4-1 that you just don't know if he's going to be 30th or 1st or 2nd. I just think that's not 4-1 to me.
No, and it's tough because the closest comparison too that you use of this would be like a Darlington because they're kind of different shaped in, same size.
Yes.
Logano won the spring Darlington race last year. He won this race last year.
Go. Yes.
And I look at, he wasn't good. He was wrecked in Darlington, but he should have won.
No, yeah.
Well, Larson, if it wasn't for Chastain or that late race caution, Larson was going to win that. So I got to look at that, and that's why I went with him to kind of win the money back for that reason, because he probably should have won Darlington, but then I also feel like using that strategy, you're chasing money, I feel like, because at the end of the day, he didn't win. Hendrick didn't have any cars in the top 10 at this track last year. He was their best finisher at 12th. So it feels like you're kind of chasing at that money, but I also didn't want to fall $100 further down. So that's the only reason. The only reason I went with him was just to get the money back.
I would probably, if he does not win this week, I'd probably rethink that strategy. I think sooner or later, because that's $30 that could be spent.
It is.
Three other drivers.
It's funny because I was looking ahead because with Sonoma next week, he didn't do great on the road courses last year, and he didn't look great at COTA. So with Sonoma coming up, if he's got all those poles in a row, 5 in a row or something there, he's probably going to be low odds. I'm punting on him. Unless something shows me this week, this is probably the last week of him being 4 to
1,
5, 6 to 1 range that I'm going to be chasing. But he was good at Darlington. He just got crashed out of his doing. We've seen what he can do when he stays out of trouble this year. So
sure.
We'll see.
I still feel better about Byron. I feel better about your Byron pick because of the fact that he won Darlington.
Exactly.
And his last 5 starts have all been very solid.
Yep.
So he's not inconsistent like Larson. And he's 6-1 instead of 4-1.
You're getting better. To me, if I had to pick the winner between those two, I'd go Byron anyways. Just of where he is on the season, the same trend, like you just said, like Logano, winning both Darlington Spring and this race last year. Byron just won Darlington Spring. It kind of goes hand in hand. I just feel like Chevy's got a better package this year even further, so he's a better pick over Byron too.
All right,
Byron's a better pick over Larson too, I should say.
Let's go over in the order of the playoffs, the standings. So Chase 12-1, Blaney 12-1, first and second. Now, I like them both this week. Now, I know you guys didn't obviously take Blaney last week, so I can understand why you wouldn't take him this week, winning 2 weeks in a row. We've always talked about that. Very hard to do. For me, the fact that I took him last week makes it different. So I'm going to go back to him because you never want to take a driver. He wins. You don't take him, especially at a track where Blaney was 4th last year. And if we of course recall, lap 95, he was in the top 5. And tire goes down. And that was because he took a 2-tire stop. Apparently that was the wrong decision. Tire goes down. You know what? He still finishes 4th. So he knows better. And he had a really solid car there. And I'm getting 12-1. If Chase Elliott wins last week and has this record last year, he's 5-1.
Yep.
6-1, but it's Ryan Blaney. So that's why I just feel, again, I'm getting good odds. So I'm going to roll the dice again with Blaney. Chastain finished 8th last year, led 93 laps at Darlington. And let's also recall that last year, that was a pretty strong 8th with all of the nuttiness that was going on with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin, who just wanted to wreck the hell out of him and just ruin his day. So he doesn't have that in this race. And he still finished 8th. And let's remember, you were just talking about wins. Ross doesn't have a win yet. So if anybody's due for a win, it's Ross.
Exactly. He's probably the better play. It seems weird saying that with explaining your stats, and you just said, and out of his last 6 points-paying races, 3 of them have been in the top 3.
Yep.
5 of them are in the top 10, and he was good there last year at Gateway. So it's like I struggled with him if he went 59 races without a win.
Yes.
Can I really see him winning twice in 6 days? That's the only reason I didn't go with him. Because everything else for 12-1, it's still a good number for him. Yeah. But like you said, Chastain, who was good in Darlington these last 2 years, he was good. Hamlin was trying to slow him up.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
So he doesn't have that, like you said, this year. And to keep that trend of new winners, you're getting double the odds as you would for somebody like Byron. But Hendrick didn't fare well there last year, where he did against all those circumstances, and you're getting double the odds. And he's the points leader for crying out loud. Yeah. So that's definitely a no-brainer for him.
Speaking of 12-1, the fourth in points you have Harvick, and his teammate. Let's just go with Harvick first, because we don't usually get Harvick with these odds. Normally it's 16-1, sometimes even worse. But so that was the only thing. Whereas Harvick's 12-1. That number's a little low. It's not like he's leading laps the last couple of years even, and he's always dangerous to win. But he's still he's fourth in points. He had the crash last year, so you just wipe that out. He only has 1 top 10 in his last 6. But what I liked him is a couple of things. One, again, same thing as we just talked about, no wins. So Kevin has got to be close to getting a win sometime soon. Also, and most importantly, second at Darlington.
Yep.
And let's also throw 5th at New Hampshire. And
exactly. Yeah, I was going to point out the 1 top 10 lately was Darlington, that runner-up. So 12-1. It was hard because he usually is 16-18 to 20-1, but 12-1. But you just got to think a win's coming sometime soon for him. And with the second year at a track, you never know. In Gateway too, it's weird because there's not a lot of trends you can go off of because it's only the second year. But one weird thing there, the best win there, no matter what. In IndyCar, the winners, I got it right here. It's a short list. They've been going there since the late 90s. Granted, they had a long gap. They didn't, but they've since gone back. Paul Tracy, Alex Zanardi, Michael Andretti, Juan Montoya, Alan Jr., Gilles LaFerrin, Elio Castroneves, Will Power, Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, and Joseph Newgarden. That's it. All of the upper echelon of IndyCar drivers.
Interesting.
You look at the one winner last year at Gateway, Logano. He won the championship last year. It just seems like the guys that are good at Gateway are championship-type caliber drivers. They're the best at their game.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Harvick, we would probably put in that category.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that's a good person to have at 12-1 for that reason. So yeah, it's the best of the best win there. It's hard to describe, but this isn't a place where fluke guys happen to win. Like I said, that IndyCar list, they're all Hall of Fame type drivers. And with Logano's last year, unless proven otherwise, unless somebody comes out this week and that you're not thinking as a legend in NASCAR wins, I think you still have to say that trend right now until proven otherwise.
Well, who would you take? Because you don't have either driver. So again, let's just say you didn't have Larson, and you could put money on Chastain or Harvick. Who would you put money on?
I'd say Chastain only for the fact that I feel like the flatter tracks like that, Chevrolet just seems to have more speed, just the speed factor.
Well, what about Ford? Because if we look at it, Ford, that's another reason why I went with a few of the Ford drivers. So Ford had 6 of the top 11 this year at Darlington, which is good for Ford. Mm-hmm. And they were 3 of the top 5, including the win at this racetrack last year. So I kind of felt if you're going to take 4 drivers, this is a good week to take them.
Yeah, this is this is one that I think will be a statement for them in a sense, is they've struggled this year in general. I mean, they got 1 win, and as you just said, Darlington they're pretty good at. They were good this track last year. What can they do this time around? They've got to be more competitive. So You just never know.
Yeah.
That's the thing with him. That's why Chastain, points leader, I just feel a little more comfortable his way. Plus, he
Sure.
doesn't have any payback kind of coming
Yeah.
his direction. So, yeah, that's why I have a little more trust in him.
Okay. Now, the next two teammates, Truex and Bell, both 10-1. Truex was 6th here last year, Bell 9th last year. Now, Bell, I came close to taking, but I just kind of couldn't fit. Of course, he won New Hampshire. That was the kind of reason I was kind of looking at him. I just don't like the way he's driving right now. He's in a little rut, and that kind of just that's what put it over the top for me. But my top pick this week is Truex, and it's not hard to understand why. Even though he had a bad finish at Darlington, he led 145 laps there. He finished 4th last year at New Hampshire, leading 172 laps. 3rd last week, 3rd at Martinsville, wins at Dover. And so those 3 things happened in the last 6 races. This is the best time of this year so far for Truex. And last year, when he finished 6th, he led 42 laps. It was the second most. That's why he was clearly my top choice of the week, and I'm getting 10-1.
Yeah, he's the best play, as you said. I mean, he go to Darlington this year. He led all those laps. He dominated that first stage. Remember, the only reason he didn't finish up front is he got overzealous with Chastain at the end of the second stage. Yeah. He had, one could say he had the best car at Darlington. Loudon he's always good at. Every year he's good at Loudon, leads a bunch of laps. So, yeah, I feel like he's due for another win. You get that feeling. Bell, as you said, I didn't feel great about him. He's good at Loudon. Like you said, won there last year. He was in the top 6 of both Darlington races last year, 9th at this track last year. He was 14th at Darlington this year. Remember, he had top 5 speed. He just got taken out in one of those wrecks at the end. So I do feel good about both those Gibbs drivers. Truex the best.
All right. Reddick at 12-1. I just don't like his results at this track last year and at Darlington or New Hampshire. And there were just so many other, driver possibilities for me to even think about taking Reddick this week.
Yeah, the only thing that I liked about it is this car was 3rd last year. But like you said, I mean, he just seems so up and down right now. I feel like you're getting a better value as a teammate in Bubba down the line than you are at 12-1 with him.
Yeah, the whole thing about is there going to be a time, do you think, that, because I haven't put it into too much stock at this point in the season, but is there going to be a time this season where you're going to just not really worry too much about the switch, the Kyle Busch Reddick switch?
I'd say probably until you start hitting these tracks a second time. Yeah, because right now you're kind of looking at that car. What did it do? And granted, for Reddick, it would be Kurt Busch. Kyle would be what Reddick did in that car. But, yeah, you do kind of look at it because it does kind of – we know both are high-caliber drivers. And sometimes you just are only as good as your car.
Yeah.
So this one, I feel like the car may carry Reddick, where on road courses it's the other way around, which a road course is coming up next week. So you're better off getting Reddick next week than you are this week when you're going to get better odds when we go over them here in a minute with the teammates.
Isn't it better or doesn't it make more sense to think that it's the driver at certain tracks that does better at tracks or worse at tracks than if you had to choose between two, the driver or the car?
Yeah, because like the example is road courses, Toyota, it's just been terrible. I mean, we talked about it here the last 2 years. This car does not suit them, but you look at what he did at COTA, and Denny Hamlin, with what he even said about it, he's like, yeah, look, I own that car. So we see all the data, and he does things in that car.
There you go.
I can't do. He's like, he just puts it in places that I can't put it, and that's where he's extracting the most out of that Toyota car. Where granted, there's times where that car is just so good, or that team is so good at a track, you're just kind of, hey kids, sit and drive this car. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think this is one of those weeks it's going to be the other way around, where the car is probably going to carry the driver. But there's just so, like you said, Truex, Hamlin could be. There's just so many better Toyota guys. I think you can get better options for.
Hamlin 10-1. CJ was the only one to put money on Hamlin. He had the incident last year, and he was 4th at the time after stage 1. But yeah, what was the exact thing that happened to his car that put him? Do you remember?
Chastain. Yeah, Chastain got him again.
That was, and what it did some damage to the car.
Yeah, kind of put him up in the wall and did
Okay.
some damage. And but I just don't get a good read for
Yeah,
him.
neither
Right?
do
Granted, he
I.
could go
Yeah.
out and win. It's just hard. I mean, out of the last 6 races, he's got 3 top 5s, but he's also got 3 finishes outside the top 5 too. I just don't get a good read.
Outside the top 10.
Felt
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. It's just, it was tough to pick him this week.
Kozlowski is 30-1, 9th in points. Might as well talk about his teammate as well, Buescher, who's 12th in points at 40-1. And I'm taking both of these guys, and so are you. And again, for me, I like the fact that you got the Fords there. I also like the fact that Kozlowski was 4th at Darlington, 7th at New Hampshire, and Buescher was 10th at Darlington. And Buescher has 4 top 10s in his last 5 races. So,
Yep.
and what a stage on Monday. So, yeah, why not go with those guys?
Especially with a race we were talking about could be wide open. This is the week to go with them. And they've, like you said, Kozlowski's got 3 top 8s in his last 5 points paying races. I'm not counting the All-Star race because that wasn't points paying. Buescher and Zane Smith, remember, filled in for Buescher because he got COVID for this race last year. And in his first Cup race, without any real testing and anything, he went out there and had that thing going well. So I feel both of those are strong plays with where you can get them for odds right now. I wouldn't be shocked if one of them would win this race.
Yeah, this is a good week to do it. As you said, Kyle is 10th in points, Larson 11. We talked about those guys. Buescher 12. So Stenhouse 13th, Logano 14th. I actually put a buck on Stenhouse. I figured why not 7 top 15s, good fantasy play, by the way. 7 straight top 15s with 3 top 10s, 1 top 5. 13th at Darlington, not too bad. Yeah, do I think he's going to win? More than likely not. But he's at this point in time, you are underrating Ricky Stenhouse when he's 150-1. The way this is not Ricky Stenhouse from the last few seasons.
No, I mean, just look at where you said where he's at in the points. I mean, even the past he would have won.
And that's it.
And he's outside the top 20 right away. He's just that guy that kind of skates by. He's staying there. He's a top 15 driver, and like you said, he's got to win. And not only is he just staying there, he's not in real big danger yet of falling outside. If we get, the typical, we get 14 winners, like, oh my gosh, is this the year we're going to get 17 regular season winners and one guy is going to be out? He's not even really discussed as being the guy to drop out. He's just been solid. So with that win, you get a late race caution and somebody needs to go. We already know he'll probably be in the top 15. Go off strategy. He can do it. What do you have to lose? This is a tough track to pass on. So, yeah, for those odds, it wouldn't hurt. I don't think he's going to win an all-out speed, but he can go off strategy. It's going to take somebody up front. Late race caution. I'm taking 2 tires, no tires, something. So, yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
going his direction.
You have 5 drivers from 28-1 higher. I have 6. So it's a good week to take some of these long shots.
Yep.
Logano is 14th in points at 12-1. And like you said, won Darlington last year. Well, let's remember he stole the race late. Really didn't do much until late. And only led 22 laps, which was 6th most. And didn't fare well at Darlington this year. No top 5s, last 5. So, yeah, I just not to win back-to-back.
No, you don't see too many drivers either go into an inaugural race and then win the second year. They don't typically start 2 for 2. Just like I said, Blaney's probably not going to win 2 races in 6 days. I don't see Logano, who's struggled, other than his Atlanta win. He's not really done much. The Atlanta win and Daytona 500 runner-up, that's about all we've got out of him. And those are 2 super speedways. I just don't think he's going to magically show up and win on Sunday. So, again, Stenhouse factor, does he go off strategy late? Other than that, not for the odds you're getting for him right now. You're wiser to go elsewhere.
And Wallace at 28-1, the odds are being more respectful as well. They should be 5th at Darlington, even 3rd at New Hampshire last year. So you got that. Yeah, I mean, you have to take him the way he's going right now at 28-1.
You have to. I mean, he just feels like he's due for a breakout. And we talked about the Toyota guys and how good they could be. Nashville, I'm not saying this track's comparable to Nashville whatsoever, but the inaugural year in Nashville, Chevrolet dominated. The second year, last year, Toyota dominated. And we talked about these Toyota drivers. He could be a beneficiary of that. So, for the odds you're getting him, I know he opened at 28-1. You've got to go his way. You actually have to.
Now, the rest of them. So, as far as long shots, you put money on Almirola and Jones, and I put money on Cindric and McDowell. So, as far as the rest of them, look, I'll tell you right now, the reason I stayed away from Almirola is I just don't like. I understand why they are what they are. I just can't take Alec Almirola at 40-1. I just can't do it. I know it sounds like, well, it's 40-1 though, but it's like I just can't do it. I don't know. He's still. I don't know if that fifth was for real or not last year. Maybe it was. Maybe this is a really good track for him. So I understand why you went for him. I just I decided to go elsewhere. And then the Cindric deal. He was pretty strong last year. He's driving a Ford. Logano won last year, and he led 26 laps, which was fifth most last year. He won stage one. I know he's not going well, but it does seem like even last week, if he doesn't have the late crash, probably finishes in the top 10. So it's just a gamble, and that's what we're doing with these long shots. And McDowell at 500-1, well, why not? He led 34 laps at this racetrack last year. I'm not sure he's led 34 laps anywhere in his career.
No. The only reason I avoided him, because, I've looked at that, was a front row car going to seriously win, but for 500-1, it's worth it. Almirola, I thought the same. I was like, 40 is kind of steep for him. I feel like he should be more 60-80, but it was fifth. The last race he won. Yeah. Loudon in 2021.
Yeah, good point.
He was good at Loudon.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a race he's got to get right. I feel like there's a lot of pressure riding on him. And hey, we all saw the shove between him and Bubba last week. Maybe those two are the top two coming to a final restart this week. Would make things interesting. But even at 40-1, I thought, you know what?
It's not a bad idea.
Let's throw it. Yep. And then Eric Jones. It's hard to pick. Seventh at this race last year. He won Darlington, the Southern 500, so that kind of factors in. So for 200-1, I'm just gonna. Stranger things.
Well, again, I took him on the fantasy team, and like you said, the 10th place finish here last year was kind of the beginning of him going for that second half of the season and making things interesting. So
it is, and I couldn't figure out the college thing. Allmendinger 30-1. Granted, he was 10th last year.
Yeah.
He got two top 15 finishes all year.
Where'd that come from?
I struggled with that one. Yeah, 30-1. I feel like they made a mistake.
It's like they thought with this, with some of the odds this week, it was almost like it was a super speedway or something. It's like, what's going on here?
It was. Yeah, it seems like they grouped everybody like 12-1. I feel like they forgot a zero because his teammate is plus 300-1. And if you look at Haley at Darlington the last 2 years, he was third and eighth. He was a top 15. He was 14th last year, so he's not a terrible one to look at. But I just thought it was weird that he's 300-1 and Allmendinger is 30-1. It just didn't make any sense to me. But
I agree.
Those are the other two that you might.
And Briscoe
got something.
Look, Briscoe might have been a good pick because he led the first 27 laps until his tire went down last year. He was on the pole, correct? Or was he second?
I think he was second. I think Cindric was on the pole.
But again, what we just talked about, I mean, after everything that happened, how do you take him to win a race this week? So
exactly. Well, let's see. Let me move aside a second. Yes, that's Cindric. I was like, I got the star of the race right behind me. And Cindric's on. There you go. There's your front row.
Yep. And that's
they've got to be
too, right?
so much compliance. No, that's Cindric.
Oh, Cindric?
Yeah, he was on the pole.
Oh, okay.
There you go. That I feel like with the compliance they need to be in, they can't push that issue.